Hi everyone. For this week's two discussion posts, I'm going to focus on vitamin deficiencies in the elderly population. The elderly population do not always consume a healthy diet every day, whether it's due to a lack of mobility, disability, or energy that they do not have to be able to make meals for themselves. It also can be due to a health issue, a disease that they're currently going through that hinders their ability and activities of daily life to be able to cook meals and have all the nutrients and vitamins they need on a daily basis. So for this specific discussion post, I was able to collect two forms of sources to collect on the proper nutrients of the elderly population. So I focused on prevalence and incidence. I got my information through an article that was published through U.S. Pharmacist that had a specific point on geriatrics, and it showed varying degrees in which the geriatric population was deficient in vitamin D as well as anemic. Data indicates that there was a high prevalence of anemia in hospitalized seniors, clinics, and institutions compared to those who were not in these environments. So those who weren't in maybe long-term care facilities, daycare, adult daycare, or other forms of senior citizen living, those specific environments show that they had more individuals that were anemic compared to those who weren't. Additionally, data indicate that individuals were low in vitamin D. Also vitamin D was deficient in about 90% of the population between the ages of 51 and 70. And data indicates that individuals with low vitamin D had low bone density and are at a higher risk for fractures as they age. So specifically the seniors, in particular, they may have lower blood levels of vitamin D compared to younger counterparts, especially those who have minimal exposure to sunlight. So again, kind of going back on that ability and lack of mobility, if they're not consuming foods that have rich in vitamin D sources, and they're also not going outside as much because they might not be able to walk, they might not have a caregiver that is able to take them on walks in the evening or in the morning, they're lacking that sun exposure, they're missing some of that vitamin D deficiencies. So the information contributes to a PSA because there's a specific population who is facing adverse health inequities compared to other counterparts, and so addressing these issues and making this information available and educating this specific population as well as healthcare providers within that people who serve that population, it's important to educate them and bring them aware, and also create policies as well as health interventions to mitigate and kind of fix that problem where there's a problem lies through prevalence and incidence rates that we see through this data that was collected. So this information can be put into practice by making nutritional changes in elderly care facilities to make more exposure to sunlight, foods that are rich in iron, folate, and B12, which contribute to someone who may be anemic could be deficient in any one of those three. So as far as, trying to get vitamin D, maybe if there's an adult daycare program that kind of has a activity in the day where they go for a walk or they sit outside maybe on a porch, kind of get some sun exposure for them on a daily basis, that could be a health intervention that works one way, as well as incorporating meals that are provided at these facilities that have the nutrients that the population may be lacking of. And so, yeah. And as far as experience, I did work in where I volunteered at an elderly daycare facility called Owl's Place last spring, and I was able to see not necessarily these specific vitamin deficiencies and anemia, but they did have a problem with UTIs and that kind of an issue. So the nurses at that program were able to implement cranberry juice and having that as part of their daily consumption to kind of help prevent and keep that bacteria from reoccurring. So they were able to use some type of implementation to help solve a problem that they saw at a much more local community level, but it was also something that they were able to see through incidence and prevalence within their population and then implement a health intervention. So yeah, thank you so much. Bye.